The first part of experimental stress analysis, you learned about strain gauges and how to use strain gauges to measure strain at certain locations on a structure. The second part, we will focus on one of the full field measurement techniques, which is photoelasticity. Photoelasticity is a very powerful full field technique to visualize stress fields. So this technique uses the property of stress induced birefringence exhibited by certain transparent materials. What is stress induced birefringence? We will come to that later. Certain polymers like epoxy, polyester, polycarbonate, polyurethane exhibit this property. A model of the real structure is made using one of these materials. So the geometry is replicated. Scaling may have to be done to reduce the size. Then the model is subjected to boundary conditions similar to that of the real structure. Then the model is viewed through a special optical arrangement called polariscope. When you view the model through the polariscope, you will see fringes which can be related to the stress level in the model. And from this information, we can get idea about the stress distribution in the real structure. So I would like to show you some examples up front. So what I am showing here is a plate with 4 holes arranged like this. The loaded boundaries are far away from the hole. The picture does not show the entire length and width of the plate. Now, if you view this stressed plate through a polariscope, you will see patterns like this, which are fringe patterns having different color. This image corresponds to a load of 150 newtons. Now, the second image, what I am showing here, corresponds to a load of 250 newton. And you can clearly observe one thing. The number of fringes has increased and they have become more closely spaced or dense. So if one were to use monochromatic light, instead of colored fringes, you will see black and white fringes. Let us look at the theory behind the formation of these fringes. For that, I have to first introduce you to optical arrangement of plane polariscope. Before we go into that, let us review wave theory of light. An electromagnetic wave has 2 fields, an electric field and a magnetic field, which are perpendicular to each other and also perpendicular to the direction of propagation of the electromagnetic wave. You see here the electric field and the magnetic field oscillate with the same frequency. In our analysis, we will use the electric field and assume plane wave propagating in the z direction with the speed c. The magnitude of the electric field vector can be written like this. It's a propagating wave where lambda is the wavelength, c is the speed of propagation, and omega here is the frequency. The light emitted by an incandescent lamp, the ordinary light, has many components, each having a different plane of oscillation for the electric field, have packets having different wavelengths, amplitude and phase. To do photoelastic analysis or studies, you need light with a more controlled behavior. In a monochromatic light, the wavelength is spread over an extremely small range, like in a good quality helium neon laser. Then we have the plane or linearly polarized light, where the plane of oscillation of the electric vector is fixed. It does not vary randomly. So in photoelasticity, polarized light, either white light or monochromatic light, is used. A plane polariscope consists of to plane or linear polarizers. So when light is incident on a plane polarizer, ordinary light, when it is incident on a plane polarizer, the component of the electric field along the axis of the polarizer passes through the polarizer. The component perpendicular to the axis gets absorbed. When light passes through a polarizer, it becomes linearly polarized. Plane polariscope has two polarizers arranged one after the other. The terminology is like this. The first one is called the polarizer and the second one is called the analyzer. And in this configuration I am showing the axis of the analyzer and the polarizer are parallel. So in this situation, think of what will happen if linearly polarized light is incident on the analyzer. It will simply pass through. Now let us arrange the analyzer such that its axis is making an angle theta with the axis of the polarizer. Then the linearly polarized light, when it is incident on the analyzer, it gets resolved into one component along the axis of the analyzer and another one perpendicular to it. The one component along the axis passes through. Now if you keep the analyzer such that its axis is at 90 degrees to the polarizer axis, then you can imagine what will happen. No light will pass through the analyzer, and if you view from this side, you will see dark field. So this is essentially the arrangement of a plane polariscope. It has a polarizer and an analyzer, and if you illuminate it with either monochromatic light or ordinary light, you will not see any light when you view from the other side of the analyzer, and you will get a dark field. Now let me explain to you what is this stress induced birefringence. To do that, I have to talk about optically anisotropic media. In an optically isotropic media, the speed of propagation of light is not affected by the direction of propagation and also not affected by the state of polarization. But in an optically anisotropic media, the speed of propagation of light or the refractive index depends on the state of polarization and also the direction of propagation. Now, the most general case of optical anisotropy, one can construct an index ellipsoid at each point in the material as shown here. N1, N2, N3 are the three principal refractive indices, and this axis 1, 2, 3 are orthogonal to each other. Now, when a ray of light propagates along either axis 1, 2 or 3, then it will get split into two components, each having polarization in two orthogonal planes, but the two components will travel collinearly. Let me explain this further in a two-dimensional scenario. So we will consider a sheet of uniform thickness H made of an optically anisotropic material with axis 3 perpendicular to the plane of the sheet. So axis 1 and 2 are shown here, and vertically polarized light propagates along axis 3. So once the light enters this sheet, at the entrance, the electric field vector will be resolved into two components, one along the N1 axis and the other one along the N2 axis. These two components will travel through the sheet with different speeds. Because of this, when they emerge out of the sheet, there will be a relative retardation delta between the two components. And subsequently, when they propagate, this relative retardation delta is maintained. Delta is related to the thickness of the sheet and the two refractive indices N2 and N1 as shown here. So for this particular case, the speed C1 is greater than C2 or N2 is greater than N1. Now by controlling the thickness of the sheet, you can design this delta to be equal to 1/4 the wavelength of the light. Of course, for a particular wavelength value. So if small delta is equal to lambda by 4, then it is called a quarter wave plate, which produces a retardation of 1/4 the wavelength of the light used. The corresponding angular phase shift will be capital delta equal to pi by 2.